Gilbert Arenas' 3-year peak is a better peak than Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, and Klay Thompson. At his peak, he's a better basketball player than those guys. We talk about as a passer, playmaker for those Washington Wizards. As a scorer, give me that. We're going to focus on my man Gilbert Arenas today. Gilbert Arenas, a guy that a lot of people are mad at for talking his talk. Let's remember who this guy was. Gilbert Arenas at his peak from 04, 05 season to about the 06, 07 season. He was averaging about, add those three together, we got about 27.
He had a 5-year stretch where he was 25 and 5.
Yeah, let's,
he had a 5-year stretch where he did.
Let's talk about that 3-year peak. It was about like 27 points a night, 6 assists, and and about four rebounds here. Gilbert Arenas at that time. Gilbert Arenas' 3-year peak is a better peak than Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, and Klay Thompson. At his peak, he's a better basketball player than those guys. We talk about as a passer, playmaker for those Washington Wizards. As a scorer, give me that. Give me that. No,
ain't no way you just read a book scoring.
You just said that, Mons. You did just say that. And Mons, this is what I'm talking about. Mons, this is what I'm talking about.
Let him get it off. Let him get it off. Wait. It's his agenda. It's his agenda. Let's let him fully push it. Go ahead, Jalen.
This is nasty. I can't.
We're talking about the mid-2000s. Where we're talking about one of the hardest defensive eras in league history, him putting up 27 a night, an amazing passer and playmaker, creating for that team, taking them to the playoffs year after year. He peaked higher again, and he was number one option, peaked higher than Reggie Miller was never the passer and playmaker. Gilbert Arenas was at his peak. Yeah. Ray Allen is the close one, but give me Gilbert Arenas over Ray Allen's peak, and he clears Klay Thompson's peak. Because Klay Thompson ain't going to do none of that.
Nobody's arguing about Klay. Nobody cares.
Klay, no.
Klay was just in there for
I don't even know why you threw Klay in there. That's a polar bear. Polar bear in Arkansas, bro.
Give me Pete Gilbert Arenas over peak Reggie Miller and Ray Allen. That's what I'm talking about.
It's just funny to me that you just went on Basketball Reference, looked at his stats, and just made the take.
No, that's crazy. For the record, this take was brought up before in J-Rob's Discord. Shout out J-Rob. But yeah, no, I think Gilbert Arenas.
Just so you know, we own the Rams. You can talk that 2021 nonsense all you want. We own y'all. Deal with it, fam.
What is going on in that Discord? The discourse of Gilbert Arenas versus Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, and Klay Thompson at their peak. What kind of guy?
Is that a combo y'all have a lot?
Yeah, I'm gonna lie. You just compared a point guard to a bunch of two guard like
twos.
I mean, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but like, what made that?
Why do you think of Reggie Miller all of a sudden?
I think Reggie Miller is probably one of the most overrated guards in NBA.
The box score is not sticking out for you.
No, it's not. I get his playoff rising. The playoff
you see how people gas Reggie Miller? You see how?
I've heard someone tell me Reggie Miller's the top 10 scorer of all time.
Yes.
Yeah,
You've never heard that, Mars. You've never heard that, Mars.
On my life, I've heard that.
There's no way you actually heard somebody.
You gotta come on.
Yes, I've heard that. And the reasoning is 3-year peaks in the postseason, one of the most efficient. Blah blah blah.
Ben Taylor, Mars. It's Ben Tayller.
Yeah, I've been told that Reggie Miller. And I'm high on Reggie Miller. I have him as a top 10 shooting guard. I think he's one of the premier scorers. I think of the 90s, he's the third best shooting guard to me. But
who's second?
Clyde Drexler.
Oh, yeah.
So he's third to me. I'm very high on Reggie Miller, but I've heard him be called a top 10 scorer of all time. I've heard he's a better scorer than James Harden. I've heard these things. So
this is what I'm saying, Mark.
The Reggie Miller glaze does go crazy.
Did you hear this from somebody that's around my age?
No, it's a bunch of stat heads. So
because I'm thinking to myself, because if it's somebody that's around my age, this is the idea that when people say stuff that they think we all think that. Is Reggie Miller awesome? Hell yeah. Reggie Miller was playing in an era where the guards were really good. Really good. And the fact that he never made first team All-NBA or second team All-NBA, that's largely due to Drex. That's largely due to Jordan. That's largely due to Joe Dumars. That's largely due to Mitch Richmond. These guys were awesome during that time. But the idea that he was a top 10 scorer, there's no way that I can get behind that. I can't.
The Reggie Miller stands,
and in the playoffs, his playoff rising, what he produced in the playoffs,
that's crazy.
That makes up for a lot of what he didn't do in the regular season. Because again, I'm on record saying, no matter what you do in the regular season creates the legend. What you do in the postseason is what elevates the legend. And what Reggie Miller did in the postseason is what elevated the legend. 100% he did that.
I have a question for you, Chill. I mean, you saw this
Gilbert
firsthand, so I
Arenas
want to know what you
postseason.
think. Were there regular seasons?
Hold up, right quick.
Were there regular
ahead,
seasons you saw? Were there regular seasons that you saw where you thought guys like Mitch Richmond or Mark Price were better than Reggie Miller?
Mark Price.
I'm just thinking of guards back then. Mark Price, Mitch Richmond. No, I'm not saying he was. I'm talking about when you saw the regular seasons.
That's what I'm talking about. We just going on regular season alone. There was never a season that I watched.
Because I mean, I think Reggie's still better because the playoffs, you got to factor that in. But
like even in the 94 season when Mark Price, I think he was first team All NBA that year, or 93 or 94, one of them. I didn't feel like he was better than Reggie Miller. I did not. Or
Mitch Richmond.
Mitch Richmond, I felt like him and Reggie Miller. The separator was in the playoffs, what Reggie Miller did and what how much better he was in the playoffs. But I didn't think that he was head and shoulders ahead of Mitch Richmond, because Mitch Richmond as a big guard, and again, I'm on record saying this, that's Anthony Edwards, except a better athlete. That's who Mitch Richmond is. And watching Reggie Miller and watching Mitch Richmond, Mitch Richmond was more physical. He didn't shoot the long ball like Reggie. In terms of a one-on-one player, he was better off the dribble. He was a better finisher at the basket, but Reggie's playoff performances are legendary, and that's what the separator was.
What about Kevin Johnson? My bad, Ron.
I know we got to go.
No. We got to get back to the initial thing that Jalen said, because I have to know, does anybody up here agree that Gilbert Arenas' peak is better than Ray or Reggie Miller?
No.
Klay Thompson, I agree, but Ray and Reggie, no.
Ray Allen, who was also in smack dab in the middle of his prime during those seasons, Gilbert Arenas was clearly the better basketball player in those 3 seasons. Without
clearly, are you just going off
basketball reference?
You talking about the big shot? You talking about the big shot after big shot? Gilbert Arenas.
You're box score watching hard right now, Jalen.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The box score watching is going crazy.
I got the box score.
I might have to agree with Jalen a little bit here, because I think that we allow some of the things that Gilbert says to cloud our judgment. I think that Gil, he did lead teams to the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember if Ray, and I think Ray was at his peak in Seattle and then those couple of years in Milwaukee, but he had substantially more help than what Gil had with the Wizards. So to me, I think that Gil, when we talk about just peak, he probably, I think I agree with Jalen Carter. I think he did peak higher than those guys. I don't think he was a better player, and I don't think he had a longer extended great period. But I did think that Gil got buckets, man. And Gil was a guy.
Crazy. Y'all be sleeping on what Gil did 30
He put up 60 on Kobe in the what you call it, man, and then took a bow. And I've seen him lead teams to the playoffs. I'm not saying he's won championships or led up to championships, but he, from those last years in Golden State to those years in with the Wizards, he was leading that team to the playoffs. He had the team relevant. They were a relevant team. So when Ray was in Seattle, I know Ray was great, but was Ray leading those Seattle teams to the playoffs?
Yeah.
What about Milwaukee? Milwaukee, they went to the conference finals. Did he not?
Yeah. Well, in 05, I know Seattle got to the second round. After
they won a playoff series.
But
not only that,
we also got to look at the West versus the East at the time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think
the West was substantially better, especially that year in 2005.
Yeah, they were both in the.
To your point, Ticket, you talking about the help that Ray Allen had with Rashard Lewis and who did
go to Milwaukee. I'm basically talking about Milwaukee. I'm talking about in the Milwaukee.
So in 2001, he was in the conference finals. Was that his peak, or was that the beginning of it? Because that was year 5 for him.
Yeah, that was his peak. No, he got better.
He's entering his prime at that point, but that was the best team he was on.
That was definitely
his
the best
peak
team
was probably like the first 2 years in Seattle. Seattle, right? When he got traded.
So we talking about Gilbert Arenas in Washington. He running around with Anton Jameson and Larry Hughes and
Caron Butler.
He had a pretty good team too. He had a pretty good team too. So it wasn't like it was just Gil. And by the way, Gil did not pass the pill. 5 assists, by the way. In that time, he did not get off the pill.
Chilltown, respectfully, and the reason why I say I agree with Jalen, you should have said one. The reason why I say he peaked higher is because in those years that Gil was in Washington and he was an all-star, Gil was averaging damn near 30 points a game. I didn't see Ray Allen do that. He was averaging 30 points and around 6 assists a game, I would say, those years. I didn't see Gil do. I mean, I didn't see Ray do that. So when he said he peaked higher, I agree, man.